saga continues. In fact, we have a 5-page email that was written by Cyrus Mistry to the director of Tata Sons, and Lata Venkatesh is here with us to give us exclusive details of that particular email. Lata, I'm sure there's a lot of mudslinging, but you tell us what all has Cyrus Mistry written.
Well, I wouldn't call it mudslinging. I think it's a lot of introspection. This is as big a scoop as it gets. The actual letter written, and I can point to you the 5-page email that was sent to the directors and to several important officials in the Tata hierarchy. Actually, it's an introspection of Cyrus Mistry's journey of 4 years in the House of Tatas as chairman, and how he found company after company running losses and had to close down. So it's, it's actually explosive material on the problems that each of the individual companies faces. First, he begins by saying that in the first place, to replace your chairman without giving him any explanation or giving him an opportunity to defend himself itself is unique in the annals of corporate history. But then he goes on to say that, this, of course, is a total lack of corporate governance and failure on the parts of the directors to discharge their fiduciary duty owed to the stakeholders of Tata Sons and to the stakeholders of the subsidiary companies, that is, not giving an explanation. Then he goes on to give his journey, how he was called. One of the key things he says is that Ratan Tata and Lord Bhattacharya individually approached him in 2011, and he declined because he was running a good business. But after the search process did not yield any other candidate, they came back to him, and that is when he reconsidered, consulted his family, took on board the broader interest. I'll read out that sentence. After consulting my family and in the broader interest of the Tata Group, I took courage to overcome my initial reluctance and agreed to the position. So it was with reluctance, he says, he took the position. So the argument is correct that when he was asked to get out of the position, he should be equally allowed to ponder over it. And then comes the most explosive part about how much the group is in need of turnaround. Okay, before that, there was another important issue. When he was appointed, he says, prior to my appointment, I was assured I would be given a free hand. The previous chairman was to step back and be available only for advice. And then what happened? After my appointment, the Articles of Association were modified. I mean, that's a very severe indictment. And changing the rules of engagement, the Articles of Association were so modified as to change the rules of engagement between the trusts, the board of Tata Sons, and the chairman. I mean, I've been repeatedly pointing out to you that, until now, the chairman of the trusts was the chairman of Tata Sons. This was the first time since 2011 when Mistry took over that the chairman of the trusts was not the chairman of Tata Sons. He was a minority shareholder, and that was itself a problem. But as he says, the Articles of Association were modified after I was appointed, changing the rules of engagement between the trust, the board, and the chairman, and the operating companies. Inappropriate interpretation followed, and as I have elaborated before, it severely constrained the ability of the group to engineer the necessary turnaround. So, the Articles of Association constrained him. So where does he say the problems lie? Company by company he goes. Okay, first, of course, the foreign acquisition strategy had left a large debt. Foreign acquisition of JLR and Tetley had left, foreign acquisition barring JLR and Tetley were all leaving the companies with a large debt overhang. The European steel business faced potential impairments in excess of $10 billion, he says, and only some of this has been taken on as of date. Many foreign properties, and then he comes to the next company, IHCL, Indian Hotels, where the indictment is very severe. Many foreign properties of IHCL and holdings in Orient Hotels have been sold at a loss. The onerous terms of the lease for Pierre in New York are such that it would make a challenge to exit. Tata Chemicals, again, that's the next company, still needs tough decisions about its UK and Kenya operations. But he comes back to IHC. That seems to be, Indian Hotel seems to be really worrying him much, which perhaps explains, the exit of Raymond Bixon as well. He says IHC, beyond flawed international strategy, had acquired Sea Rock property at highly inflated prices and housed in an off-balance sheet structure. Again, a severe indictment. In the process of unraveling this legacy, IHCL had to write down nearly its entire net worth over the past 3 years. This impairs its ability to pay dividends and thereby affects Tata Sons. Tata Capital as well required a huge cleanup. The loan to Shiva was under the advice of the executive trustee. So that's again an indictment. Of all the companies in the portfolio, the telecom business was the one that is continuously hemorrhaging. That's the word he uses. If we were to exit this business via fire sale or shut down, the cost would be $4 to $5 billion US. This is in addition to the payout to Docomo of at least $1 billion plus. The original structure of the Docomo transaction raises several questions about its appropriateness from a commercial or prudential perspective. So, he's questioning, why did you enter into an agreement like that? In the light of this, his strategy has been, our strategy over the past 3 years has been to increase the EBITDA from 400 crores to 2,500 crores so that it looks like a bride who can be married off. I mean, his own words are, in the hope of being a potential player in the consolidation of the industry.
So if I can just interrupt you here, you gave us some numbers, right? You spoke about how much? $10 billion of impairment in the...
Tata Steel, in steel.
In the foreign assets as a whole.
Steel business
Only
alone.
Steel
European
business.
steel business alone is $10 billion. Okay. And then in IHCL, he is given bits and pieces, not referred to a number. And in Docomo, I mean, in the telecom business, it's the cost, the fire sale could have cost $4 to $5 billion. And therefore, he tried to, revive the company, improve the EBITDA so that it could be sold off in the consolidation process. That was his effort. Tata Power, he said, aggressively bid for Mundra project on the base of a low-priced Indonesian coal. The regulations changed, losses mounted to 1,500 crores. Given that Mundra constitutes 18,000 crores of capital employed, this substantially depresses the ROE for return on capital, ROCE for Tata Power as well. Then he comes to Tata Motors, where the indictment of Nano is in no uncertain terms. And I think one should read the words for what it says. Tata Motors Finance extended credit with lax risk assessment. Then, therefore, the NPAs for that company mounted to 4,000 crores. But, actually, it's Nano. Beyond this, and these words are important, the Nano product development concept called for a car below 1 lakh rupees, but the cost was always above this.
Okay, yes. Lata, I think Shireen has also joined in.